One of the biggest mistakes I see most people make when they're thinking of the word mortgage or thinking of the word, mortgage debt is that it's costing you money. It's costing you interest. I don't like mortgages. I want to pay my mortgage off. And I want to shed some light on this and maybe give you a little bit different perspective to think about how a mortgage is actually a vehicle to help you expand and compound and grow wealth over time if you use it the right way. And that's the key, is if you use it the right way and you have the knowledge. And so I'm going to break down a few strategies here and some examples that I feel like will help you shift your mindset a little bit about how a mortgage vehicle can work for you to help you compound and grow your wealth over the next 10, 20, 30 years, or just the rest of your life as you pass on to your inheritance to your heirs. So let's dive right in. There's a difference between what I call simple interest and compounding interest. And not a lot of people know that there actually are two different types of interest in finance. Simple interest is what a mortgage is, right? We can tell that every dime to the T. If you were to just pay a 30-year mortgage every month, I can tell you exactly what the interest would be every month, and it gets cheaper over time as you make more payments. It's also an inflation hedge, and this is where a lot of people mistake how a mortgage can be used. The other type of interest is called compounding interest, and a lot of people know what this is. If you think about like retirement accounts, stock accounts, what compounding interest means is that money grows each year over time. And as that grows, you're making interest on the balance each year, and it's compounding and growing in an exponential way. And so I wanted to share an example on the screen. We've got a $500,000 mortgage at a 6% interest rate, so it's using an average rate for example purposes here. And the interest that you'd pay on a $500,000 mortgage over 10 years would be $278,000. It's a lot of money, right? Let's keep going. Interest paid over 20 years, $489,000, and then interest paid over 30 years would total $579,000. And so when I speak and to meet with a lot of my clients, I show them this and they're like, oh my God, Mark, $579,000 of interest on a $500,000 mortgage. I'm paying more interest than the actual loan. And that is true, right? Now, the average American only holds a mortgage for 3 to 5 years, but I like to go off worst case scenario so that way the people on Reddit and Twitter can, we can get through that, because I know I'm going to get some negative comments on this. But let's say, for example, worst case, we held this mortgage for 30 years, you'd pay $579,000 of interest. Let's go to the other side, right? Well, what happens if you bought a home for $500,000? It appreciated at 4% appreciation rate, which is the 100-year average of appreciation of real estate in America. So if you're taking a long-term blended average of about 4% appreciation, the appreciation gain would mean that in 10 years, that home would be worth $740,000 in value, or you'd have gained $240,000 of appreciation. Okay, so if we're looking at this, right, you might be thinking, okay, well, the interest is more than the value that I gain. And that is true, but you're also getting principal benefits. There's other tax benefits, and this assumes you don't refinance. Let's keep going. Appreciation gain over 20 years is $595K, which means you're at almost a $1.1 million home. And then if we stretch this out over 30 years, that compounding effect keeps happening. In 30 years, a $500,000 home at a 4% appreciation rate would be worth $1.6 million, giving you $1.1 million of appreciation gain. So this is the difference between, if we really look at it, the simple interest had a 6% mortgage rate, higher interest than the interest collected or made on the 4% appreciation. So 4% in compounding terms actually made more money than 6% in simple interest terms. This is going to pave the way for the rest of the video, but I want you to understand that simple interest is a inflation hedge. It can help you get ahead. And the reason why mortgages help so many people and why 83% of the average person's wealth when they retire is in home equity is what's on this screen right now. And so let's go into a couple examples. One that I come across a lot, whether you're a real estate agent or your client directly talking to me about this, is that cash buyers are stronger buyers. And while that may be true in the terms of a real estate contract, because you're not having to muddy finances and a financing contingency into place, my opinion is cash buyers actually lose money, and I'm going to give you a real data-driven breakdown on that. So if we take the cash buyer, they buy a $1 million home, they put 100% down, or all cash, right? They have no interest rate. They have no monthly payment either, as far as a mortgage is concerned. That home in 30 years, a $1 million home, would be worth about $3.24 million. And let's say that person, this is the argument, let's say that person were to take the $29.98, so basically $3,000 a month, which is what the mortgage would cost, and we'll get there in a second, they would take the $3,000 a month of and invested it into a stock market account, and let's just use a modest 7% rate of return, that would generate $3.398 million, leaving their total net worth at $6.64 million, which is a lot of money over a 30-year period. Okay, so this is what most cash buyers do. Now, I will say most people are not disciplined and diligent enough to invest $3,000 a month. But let's take the benefit of the doubt. Let's say they do invest the $3,000 a month because they didn't take the mortgage and they had that capital flow to help do that. Let's go down to door number 2, which is buyer with financing, right? So what if somebody buys a $1 million home, but they put 50% down? They borrow 50% on a $500,000 mortgage at 6%. Monthly payment, $29.98. That's what the principal and interest would be for a 30-year mortgage. Again, we're not going to assume refinancing, tax benefits, anything like that. And we just say, okay, this person pays a mortgage over 30 years. Well, the home value is still going to be $3.43 million. And a lot of people don't realize that. Is like, if you paid cash for a property or you had a mortgage for 30 years, when we get to 30 years, that home's not going to change depending on the mortgage or no mortgage, right? It's going to appreciate or depreciate for that matter, no matter if you had a loan on it or not. So we got the $3.24 million, okay? Same scenario. What if we take that $500,000 though that they save by not putting it down, we put it in an investment account today in 2025, and then you did nothing. You just let it sit there over 30 years and never touched it. It grew at 7%, same rate of return as above. We would be at a net worth of, we'd be at $3.8 million in that investment account, beating the investment account if you were to done it on a monthly basis, equaling a total net worth of over $7 million. And when we do the recap and we break this down, the buyer that financed and paid interest on a mortgage actually ended up with over $400,000 more in net worth. And they also had a flexibility liquidity. They didn't have to think about making the monthly payment, investments every month. They just left a lump sum in there, but they had liquidity if something happened during their life and they could pull from that. They got the benefits of tax deductions with the mortgage interest being written off, and then also can take advantage of refinance and rates drop, right? Let's say rates drop and they can go to a 3 or 4% rate 3, 5, 10 years down the road. Well, now they can invest monthly and they have the 500 working for them. And so worst case scenario, the cash buyer lost. And I talked to a lot of people about this and they get fearful about taking debt out. I'd be more fearful about not taking debt out. And there's mathematical truth behind this. So let's keep going. That's one scenario. Here's another scenario. A lot of my clients ask me, hey, Mark, should I pay down my mortgage faster? Or I want to pay my mortgage down faster. I want to be debt free. I want to get this loan cleared. It's stressing me out. And I get that, but you're losing money. And you might laugh at me a little bit or question me a little bit here, but let's go through that scenario, right? So if you were to pay off your mortgage early, let's take a $500K mortgage, 6% interest rate, monthly payment just under $3,000. Same scenario. Let's say they pay an extra principal payment of $500 a month, which pays off the loan in 21 years. Okay, so you're debt free in 21 years. Interest paid over 30 years would be $379,000. So now let's say, okay, we through the 21 years, at year 21 going on 22, we invest the monthly payment of $29.98 plus the $500 extra per month, so basically $3,500 for 9 years at a 7% rate of return. They made $502,000. The home value is worth $1.62 million, so their net worth is $2.12 million. Okay, so that's the side of paying the mortgage down. Again, we're not taking into account refinancing. We're going off the worst case, just in case anybody wants to test me on this. But what if they invested every month, right? So let's say we hold the mortgage for 30 years. We don't refinance. We pay over 30 years that $579K of interest, right? At 6%. But we take the $500, the other client takes $500,000 a month, invested at a 7% rate of return over 30 years. They would have a $566,000 investment account balance at the end of 30 years. Their home value would be $1.62 million. Their net worth would be $2.188 million. Okay. The recap is a little bit different here, but the homeowner that invests every month versus pays the mortgage down is up almost $64,000 more in net worth. And that's obviously not assuming a refinance, right? If you really want to take the truth of the matter here, and I can't guarantee this, but the last 100 years in the S&P 500 has generated a 10% rate of return. If you were to take that $500,000 and invest and make 10%, this spread gets even further. But let's just play this conservative. Paying off your mortgage early actually costed you more money than investing it diligently and building net worth with compounding interest. My advice to you, do your own research, number one, but don't just blindly start paying off debt without understanding the repercussions of the other side. I'm not against becoming debt free. I love Dave Ramsey. I love what he preaches. But at the end of the day, what I find is that a lot of people are using money strategies out of fear and going in a direction of safety, which is important. But what happens is they get later in life and they don't have as much money as they could have had if they would have taken just a little bit more of educated risk, right? And there's a way to do this, like I illustrated here, where you can have liquidity while you take out debt, right? In most of the scenarios I was showing you guys, you're having a nest egg as you go through life with that while you're paying the interest. So if anything happens, you lose your job. In fact, let's go back to the cash buyer. If the cash buyer would have lost his job, now he can't qualify for a mortgage. He can't get any money out of the property. He has no liquidity. And then at this point now, you're stuck in this home that you probably have to sell if you don't have a nest egg, right? Versus the person that took the mortgage out, they actually had the nest egg. And if God forbid if something happens, they have money to fall back on and they don't have to go and take out a mortgage in a tougher spot. So I hope this helps shed some light on wealth building with a mortgage and looking at a mortgage a little bit differently when it comes to creating wealth versus looking at a mortgage and just paying debt down or having all this interest and things like that. If you want a tailored plan, scan one of these links, click the links below in the video. Love to set up a discovery call with you to go through your goals, your own financial fingerprint, and figure out how we can help you with wealth creation over time. Take care.